Hello, and welcome to Sarah's Baked Goods. I got a haircut, nice and shaved off. It's really good to have very short hair when in a kitchen so you don't get hair in anything or wear your hat. But enough said, don't need to worry about my hair. Today we're going to be making banana bread. I've thawed out my bananas so that I'm using the most ripe bananas possible. So whenever you get any bananas and you're just eating whatever, and they get to that black stage, throw them in your freezer, and then just whenever you need to make some banana bread, make it. Because with that black banana, it's going to make the sweetest, most delicious banana bread possible. So, let's get into it. With the experiment I did last time where I just threw everything in, it worked out perfectly fine. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. Just so I can speed this up. A pinch of salt. Your brown sugar, two eggs, depending on the size it's 110 grams. I'm 105 grams, so it won't be too much of a difference. I should be fine with just this. And then of course the buttermilk. I pre-measured this out, and with all this in, we're going to just mix it all up and then put it in with our flour and baking soda. I've already sifted this so that it's nicely distributed throughout the whole flour and that you don't get any sodium pockets which will ruin your bread. So let's start mixing. With everything mixed in, let's start mixing in our flour. Make sure you have your oven preheated, because once you start mixing in the soda, you're going to start reacting and it won't rise as much if you wait too long. So make sure you do this quickly. Once you're basically all mixed in, add in your oil and use this last bit of mixing to just make sure that there's no flour pockets. If you keep mixing this after the flour is in, it's going to get very dense and not be so nice. So just be very careful. Just go very slow at the very end like this. Once you've done all the mixing you can, make sure you have a scraper so you can scrape down the sides and just do one last little mix to make sure there's no flour. So now this is all good, just get this out of our way. We simply pour it in here and then use our oil to make the crack down the middle. Throw it in the oven. If you're making large batches, the weight of each loaf is in the description. And just weigh out each individual loaf so that you're not putting too much in one and too little in another. You don't want to skimp out on your customers. And it's every last drop. Try and get as much out as possible. The more of this that goes down your sink, the more soap you're going to use, the more times you're going to have to fix your sink. It's just more and more costs that you don't want to have, that simply can just be fixed if you just scraped it as much as possible into each dish. Now simply for the oil, take a nice flat scraper and dip oil down the middle. Make sure you can see it so you know that it's going to work. If you can't see the line, just keep going until you can. There we go, I can see the line. So all we have to do, throw this in the oven for about an hour. We'll take it out and it's already done. Here's how the banana bread turned out, looking good. Got a nice crack down the middle. Could have done a little bit of job on this side. As you see, it's only right in the middle, it's not on the edges. But that's personal preference, it's looking good, not a big deal. Make sure you take it out of your pan and don't cool it in your pan or the bottom will get soggy. There's so much liquids in here that as it cools down, it's going to steam and form water pockets underneath the banana bread if you leave it in the pan. So make sure you just go around it. Use your handy tool that you prepped ahead of time. If you're struggling, just give it a little boost here and there. Just lift it up, don't press too much. There you go. Sadly, we missed a piece. Luckily this is for me, but make sure when you do this that you put your parchment paper in the middle. It can still be this size, like it's okay to be this thin, but just make sure it's in the middle so that it doesn't stick all on one side. If you want to fully avoid this, just make sure that you cut a thicker piece, but it's not a real big deal for me. So I'm going to set up for pictures and set up for taste testing so I can give you my feedback. Okay, here it is. It's looking good. Nice and moist. Not too sweet. It's got a nice crust. Very banana-y. Perfect. Just remember with this type of recipe, because you're using soda, you have to have an acid. So if you don't have buttermilk, you can use yogurt or sour cream or vinegar. If you're going to use vinegar, you're going to have to use something else with it, like milk. But be very careful because too much vinegar will mess this thing up. If you only have milk and you don't have any acids with you, what you can do is replace the soda for baking powder, but make sure you double the baking powder because baking soda is double the strength, but you need an acid. So instead of 10 grams of soda, put 20 grams of baking powder and then just use the regular amount of milk that you would use for buttermilk. Other than that, all this recipe is fairly good. You can always add peanut butter, or sorry, chocolate chips if you want. I prefer to go without them, but I will be making both at the bakery. So, if you've liked this video, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. I even have my own website. Thank you, and have a nice day.